Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this video blog, and today's topic is the autobiography of Ben Franklin. And I want to share with you 5 short stories that really impressed me about Ben Franklin, his character, and his life. And maybe you can apply these to yours. And now, just so you know, Ben Franklin is one of the 5 founding fathers of the United States. But also, he's the first millionaire ever in the U.S., and today he's, of course, on the $100 US bill. I saw that Elon Musk has said a number of times that Ben Franklin is his hero, is his role model, his idol. So I heard that and I was like, okay, I want to read more about him. Anyway, so I picked up this book, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to get to his book. But basically, it's a short book. It's really not even meant as one. It's him writing letters to his son about how to improve your moral character and improve your habits. And so here's 5 things that really stood out for me. Short stories. 1, industry. He is very, very industrious. He is always working. And he is at his printing press, which he opens in Pennsylvania, working before others wake up in the morning. And he's still there working when others have gone back home and are in bed. Like, this guy's working nonstop. And so I think that's one of the keys to success in life is work your butt off. In my case, I've had people say, "Oh, Christian, I'm really impressed with how quickly you've grown as a real estate agent." Honestly, I've just given up about 300-400 of my Saturdays and Sundays over the last 6 years of my life. And that's really where I've gotten to this point. There is no secret to it. But industry for Ben Franklin is number 1. The second thing I took away from him was making the best of a bad situation. There's this great little story of where he's in his early 20s, and the governor of Pennsylvania meets him and is impressed with him and says, "Look, if you sail over to Britain, I will give you a line of credit, and I'll write these letters of introduction for you so you can meet people in Britain and get the connections, buy the equipment and technology, bring it back here, and set up much bigger and better printing presses." And Ben Franklin thinks, well, this is a great idea. I'd love to do this. Sign me up and let's do it. So he sails over to the UK, and during the voyage, he learns basically it's all a fraud. Like, this governor has lied to him. There's no letters of introduction. There's no line of credit. Ben Franklin, in a voyage that takes a month to 2 months, is in the middle of that, and he doesn't even have enough money now to buy a ticket to come back. So most people would be dejected, despondent, and this man says to him, this older man says, "Look, why don't you take the opportunity? You're going to be in Britain. Go find some work, work at another printing press, learn the best of their strategies, and bring it back to America a year or 2 later." And he does that. So I think making the best of a bad situation, if you can really do that, you're gonna, you take your life to the next level. 3rd, solid, good judgment. And a great example here is he now he's now older, he's back in Pennsylvania, he's established his printing press, and one of the things he notices, so there's one other newspaper in town, and it's a crappy newspaper. The articles are of very poor quality, and this thing is really profitable. And he notices this, and he says, well, why don't I just set up a newspaper, make it a whole lot better content-wise, and we'll be even more profitable. And he does, and of course, he gets into it, and he does it, and it goes very well. But the point is, I think that simple type of judgment, we see that over and over. I saw that with Richard Branson, the Virgin Galactic CEO and founder. He had a similar experience in his life where he looked at British Airways, or he actually got this proposal about starting an airline, and so he read about it, and so he called British Airways to try and book a ticket. And he spends the whole afternoon trying to get through to their customer service. And he reaches two conclusions. He says, one, either business is so amazing, these guys don't even have time to get to their customers, in which case I could set up an airline and the business is going to run swimmingly. Or two, they're so bad at what they do, I can get into the airline business and I'm going to kick their butt and make a killing. And of course, that's what he does, and he is very successful at it. So sometimes just look at what others are doing, okay? And practice good judgment. Next is the fourth thing is give without the expectation of return. I really like this because I've had this happen with me as well. In Ben Franklin's case, he's in the UK, he's in Britain, and he loves doing physical exercises. He loves swimming. And so he's down by the river somewhere swimming, and these young men approach him and say, look, you're swimming. That's like, wow, we don't know how to do that. Can you show us? And he shows them, his swimming strokes and techniques. And he does this without expectation of receiving anything. He just has a good time teaching them. And then a while later, just before he's on his way to sail back to the US, America, one of the young men approaches him and says, or a man approaches him and says, by the way, you've actually been teaching one of the sons of the royal family. We would like to set you up with a swimming school here so you can teach all the people here in London. And so it's just an example of when you give without the expectation of return, you just bring so much good into your life. I've had the same thing. It happened to me too. I remember a number of years back where I was hosting an open house. Two older ladies came in, and I just offered to help educate them on the condo market downtown and near City Hall. And I said, look, I'll take a Saturday. We'll go out for 3-4 hours. And we'll look at a bunch of places. And from that, they told me, oh, look, by the way, we got a house in Coquitlam. You want to sell that? And I had no idea. And I got a listing just like that because I was just going to give. So do that. Give without expectation of return. And the last thing is self-improvement. So Ben Franklin is constantly trying to improve himself. And the example here in the book that he shares with his son in his letters is he says when he was like 14, 15 years old, he's working at his brother's printing press near Boston. And when his brother, who was the boss, and the workers would go out for lunch or go out for dinner to eat and drink, Ben would stay back in the printing press, and he would take that time to take his books and start reading. And he would just read. He wouldn't go out and eat. And also, in those early years, whenever he made a little bit and saved a little bit of money, he only spent it on books. Books it would have been like buying plane tickets. They were hard and would have been far more expensive on his salary back then. But he just spends all his money on learning. And he never went to school. He didn't go to college or anything like that. So the point is, if you're constantly learning, find the time to improve yourself, your mind. It's incredible what it can do for you. In my case, what I like to do between appointments, if I'm driving from here to Surrey, I'm driving from Surrey to Coquitlam, for an appointment, I'm listening to podcasts. My personal favorite is the Tim Ferriss podcast. And it's a great business podcast, and he interviews the top CEOs around the world for 2 hours, one-on-one, and you can learn so much in that time. There was with one recently I listened to with the CEO of Disney, whose name now escapes me, but there's Bob Iger is the gentleman's name. So just a fantastic podcast on just how the television movie industry works, how animation works, from Bob Iger of Disney. So there's a lot you can do, even in your downtime. Use it wisely. Spend time reading, listening to podcasts, and let me know which podcasts you listen to, because I always like to know another business podcast I can listen to as well. So thanks very much for tuning in. Hope this has been helpful, and pick up a copy of Benjamin Franklin's Autobiography.